As the clock counts down to the primary election on June 18th, the candidates are gearing up for their final efforts to win your vote. ABC 13's Rachel Tillipod joins us live from the Lynchburg Registrar office. And Rachel, how's the race shaping up for the Ward 4 Lynchburg City Council seat?
Kelsey, both Chris Feraldi and Peter Alexander tell me they're confident going into Tuesday and have a final message for voters before you hit the polls. The race is heating up in Ward 4 of Lynchburg City Council. Republican incumbent and current Vice Mayor Chris Feraldi is facing off against Peter Alexander.
I'm excited to bring that platform back to the voters to say, I would like to serve you again.
We need to get everybody together and going in the same direction to get the job done that the voters in for.
Feraldi says his track record speaks for itself.
Cut taxes, invest in law enforcement, bring jobs to the city, and make sure parents are prioritized.
Alexander plans to focus on four main issues: public safety, schools, city spending, and taxes.
Community here, Lynchburg, has one of the largest taxes in the entire state of Virginia. That needs to change.
Peter Alexander is wrong for Lynchburg.
The post proves that he doesn't understand service.
The race highly contested, with both taking shots at each other in campaign ads ahead of the primary. In a recent ad, Feraldi says Alexander is telling voters he was a cop during 9/11. There is an ad that your campaign's been recently running that says that there were certain things that might illustrate that he was a cop on 9/11. Can you speak to what was it that you were referring to in that ad?
His campaign literature this entire time has said something to the effect of, for his valiant service with the NYPD and his selfless bravery on 9/11. Can't trust him to tell the truth about his background, the full truth about his background. How can you trust him in City Hall? I asked Alexander about this. There's been an ad circulating around from your opponent saying that you were claiming to be a cop on 9/11 with NYPD. What is your response to this ad?
That's ridiculous. I was an auxiliary police officer during the 1980s in New York City. After that, after I moved to Lynchburg, I went and visited New York City to see my sister, and that's when 9/11 occurred. I was there the next day working, utilizing my skills and also my training to help find survivors.
Polls open Tuesday morning at 6 and close 7 that night. Remember, you must vote in your designated precinct, and if you don't know where that is, you can find it on the Virginia Department of Elections website. Live in Lynchburg, Rachel Tillipod, ABC 13 News.
Now to the Lynchburg City Council race in the 4th Ward. Lynchburg Vice Mayor Chris Feraldi is running to hold on to his council seat against Republican challenger Peter Alexander. You can see the numbers right there. Again, Feraldi ahead by just 21 votes. A very close race there with Chris Feraldi in the lead for council seat.
Let's get to ABC 13's Alexia Stanbridge live with some reaction from Feraldi to this very tight race. Alexia.
The Lynchburg City Registrar says this race is too close to call. But Feraldi says right now it's looking like he won the Republican nomination. Now everyone's left Feraldi's watch party, but tonight it was filled with excitement and nerves while they waited. Now, Feraldi says it's time to focus on the general election in November.
I can tell you that the most important thing in this race was to show that we're delivering real results for the city, not more rhetoric.
The registrar says there are only about 21 votes between Alexander and Feraldi. He's still waiting for the election day absentee and provisional ballots. He says these could make a difference or end in a recount if it goes within the margin of error of 1%. Now, the results could come in as late as Monday. Whoever wins this Republican nomination will go against Democratic candidate April Watson. Reporting live in Lynchburg, Alexia Stanbridge, ABC 13 News.
We are still waiting to hear which candidate will be on the Lynchburg City Council ballot in November. Incumbent Chris Feraldi and Peter Alexander are facing off for the Ward 4 Republican nomination.
Very close race. ABC 13's Rachel Branning joins us live from the registrar's office tonight. Rachel, you've had a tough time getting in touch with those candidates today.
Mark Danner, that's right. I reached out to both Chris Feraldi and Peter Alexander multiple times today. We were able to get Feraldi on the phone, and he and I talked about an hour and a half ago, and he wasn't available for an on-camera interview. But Peter Alexander, I haven't heard anything back yet from him. Feraldi declared his victory at his watch party last night and doubled down with it this morning on Facebook. But the registrar's office says this race is just too close to call right now. With only 21 votes separating the two candidates, they say they're still waiting for provisional and absentee ballots, which could make the difference in this race. Though over the phone today, Feraldi says he believes there are fewer than 5 votes still uncounted, which he says won't change the results. When we caught up with him last night, this is what he had to say about the race.
We may talk about what we want to actually do for the city. I've done it. And that's the difference. And I think at the end of the day, that's what boils down to for this race, is that I've actually done the things I said I would do.
We weren't able to interview Alexander last night, and I've tried to get in touch with him all day long, calling, emailing, and leaving voicemails. I even left a note at his home, but I haven't heard back yet. Now, the winner of this primary will face off against the Democrat April Watson in November. Live in Lynchburg, Rachel Branning, ABC 13 News.
We're on election watch with those final results of the Lynchburg City Council Ward 4 race, still undetermined. The Republican candidates were at the registrar's office today. That's also where we find ABC 13's Rachel Tillepaugh. Rachel.
Mark, the race between Peter Alexander and incumbent Chris Feraldi remains close. I spoke with Alexander here at the registrar's office just before canvassing started. Alexander tells me this race is he still has hope in this race, even though he's currently behind. When polls closed on Tuesday, Feraldi was ahead by 21 votes, but Alexander tells me to stay tuned whether he will ask for a recount of votes on Monday.
I want to be involved in the process. It's been a really interesting and very vitriolic at times campaign. So yeah, we need to be involved.
Feraldi claimed victory on election night to one of our reporters and on social media. I did try to interview him today at the registrar's office. I wanted to learn why he declared himself the winner, so we caught up with him as he was leaving. All he would tell me is he wasn't feeling well. Feraldi's team recently released a statement about his sickness. You can find it on our website, wset.com. And the registrar's office tells me that they will be counting the votes on Monday, and they hope to have a final result for the Ward 4 race by Monday night. Live in Lynchburg, Rachel Tillepaugh, ABC 13 News.
A little bit more about what's going on with this canvassing of the votes for the Ward 4 race. This process is recertifying all the votes for Ward 4. Incumbent Chris Feraldi is up against Peter Alexander, of course. And Lynchburg Registrar Daniel Pence says it will take days to declare a winner.
What's the process for distinguishing the final vote? When can folks see a final vote for Ward 4?
So 2 more tranches still have to come in. The end of the day, Monday, canvass closes, and the electoral board here will post their results.
This is because absentee ballots will still be coming in through Friday at noon. These will be added and provisional ballots will be reviewed on Monday.
All new tonight, a too close to call primary race between Chris Feraldi and Peter Alexander for the Ward 4 Lynchburg City Council Republican nomination is filled with new drama. Now the incumbent, Chris Feraldi, is claiming the Lynchburg Registrar's office improperly handled ballots for that race. ABC 13's Rachel Tillepaugh joins us live with the details. Rachel?
Kelsey, Feraldi first shared his concerns on Facebook about the Lynchburg Registrar's office vote counting issues. The post says he claims his campaign was made aware of what he calls a flagrant violation of state code and election procedures. In his post, Feraldi says their ballot drop box was left unlocked and open. They miraculously found ballots in that unlocked drop box 3 days after the election noon Friday and began processing them. That's well past Election Day and in violation of state law. He tells me his team was not at the canvassing of votes that started Friday at noon, but that a representative from the John McGuire for Congress campaign was, and that it was the McGuire team who alerted him about the possible vote counting irregularity.
The drop box was left open and unlocked through noon on Friday, and that's a major flaw in the election process. We want to make sure that the law is followed, that the integrity of our election process is upheld, and that any wrongdoing is properly dealt with.
Feraldi says the ballots in question were also mixed in with mail-in ballots. I did reach out to the Lynchburg Registrar and the Electoral Board for comment. I received this response from Electoral Board Chairman David Levy that simply states no comment at this time. Feraldi's challenger, Peter Alexander, also hasn't responded to my phone call or text seeking comment. John McGuire's campaign did get back to me about what they shared with Feraldi. They're saying The local registrar confirmed the drop box remained open until Friday, June 21st, 3 days after it should have been closed and locked. I also asked the registrar's office about the ballot box. They said no comment means no comment, at least at this time. On Monday, votes will be counted, and that vote counting process will continue. Live in Lynchburg, Rachel Tillepaugh, ABC 13 News.
Thank you, Rachel. And Feraldi's opponent is aligning himself with the vice mayor, expressing his concerns on social media this afternoon. In an extensive Facebook post, Peter Alexander details what he calls election irregularities. Alexander also called on Feraldi to join him in demanding a full manual recount in the audit of the June 18th Republican primary. Now we're working to confirm all those details of this developing story, and we will keep you updated on air and online as this continues.
Good evening, and thanks for sticking with us. New tonight, the Republican Party of Virginia is congratulating John McGuire on being the party's nominee for the 5th District congressional race.
The chairman, Richard Anderson, also says Congressman Bob Good has a right to request a recount. Nearly a week after the primary, that race has not been officially called for McGuire. According to the Virginia Department of Elections, McGuire is ahead by 375 votes.
The other race we're watching is for Lynchburg City Council's Ward 4 seat. That matchup is between Republican incumbent Chris Feraldi and Peter Alexander. And new as of tonight, Feraldi is now 33 votes ahead of Alexander instead of 21.
The integrity of the primary election is being called into question. There are new allegations being raised by those candidates.
ABC 13's Kelsey Childress joins us live in studio with their concerns tonight. Kelsey.
Well, Mark and Noreen, the registrar confirmed tonight that they certified the results for the Lynchburg City Council Ward 4 seat. Incumbent Chris Feraldi released a statement saying he won the election, but his opponent isn't backing down quite yet.
And how in the world can you certify an election when you don't know when and how these ballots got here?
That's the question City Council candidate Peter Alexander is asking after the Lynchburg Registrar admitted to a procedural error with the ballot box inside their office. The box was left unlocked 3 days after the election, and officials say they found 7 ballots in that box. We spoke over the weekend with incumbent Chris Feraldi.
And I won't sugarcoat this. The electoral board and the registrar have majorly screwed up here.
Both candidates are calling foul.
That's a major flaw in the election process because it simply violates state code. So somewhere there's a problem.
This is an outrage that our election is conducted in this manner, in this fashion. I mean, people have to be held accountable.
But they aren't the only ones questioning the integrity of this election. 5th District Congressional Republican incumbent Bob Good talked about the issues coming to light at the Lynchburg Registrar on Real America's Voice Monday morning.
Steve, this has exposed our vulnerability for November. Our elections are not secure. We're going to do everything, Steve, to try to block certification of this election, to have a full investigation of the evidence of some potential malfeasance here.
While Good is requesting a recount, his opponent, John McGuire, is on a thank you tour saying he won the election.
Even if my opponent were to get all the remaining votes, we still have a victory. So all paths lead to victory.
Now Alexander says he is speaking with attorneys and could be pursuing legal action. The official results of the Ward 4 City Council seat will be posted on the Virginia Department of Elections website tomorrow morning. Back to you.
Thanks for joining us tonight at 7. Nearly a week after the June primaries, 2 races are still without a winner. The Lynchburg City Council race for Ward 4 and the Republican primary for the 5th Congressional District. We have live team coverage tonight with where each race stands. We're going to send things first to ABC 13's Alexia Stambridge, who just spoke with one of the candidates for the council race. Alexia?
Noreen, I just spoke with City Council Ward 4 candidate Peter Alexander. And we don't have this confirmed through the registrar yet, but he tells me the registrar certified the election results for Chris Feraldi being the nominee. However, he says this race is not over for him and that there is more to come because of election irregularities. Now, both candidates have raised concerns, though, over how the registrar's office handled some of the ballots. Today, the registrar's office gave us this statement that details a procedural error at the ballot box in the registrar's office. They say the ballot drop box was emptied last Tuesday at 12:50 p.m. on primary day to keep from overfilling as a standard practice. But the registrar says they forgot to check that drop box again until Friday afternoon, days after voting closed. When they did, 7 ballots were found inside. Alexander says the handling of the ballots is a tragic incident.
This must stop. We cannot continue having elections handled in a manner that I have personally observed. It's outrageous.
The registrar's office said in a statement the box is visible to 3 staff members who monitor it, and that none of the 7 ballots in question have been scanned or tabulated. The Electoral Board and Lynchburg Registrar are currently investigating the incident. Now, we reached out to all 3 members of the Electoral Board, the Registrar, as well as the Virginia Department of Elections, and Chris Veraldi for an interview, but no one has agreed at this time. However, Peter Alexander says to stay tuned because there's more to come. Reporting live in Lynchburg, Alexia Stambridge, ABC 13 News.
We are incredibly thankful that we're in this position, and we're looking forward to taking our message to November.
Good to have you with us tonight. City Councilman Chris Veraldi says he's ready to fight to keep his seat on Lynchburg City Council. Veraldi says he won the Republican primary.
And the Lynchburg Registrar's office has certified the ballots, as we told you last night, but we're still waiting to hear from the State Board of Elections. ABC 13's Kelsey Childress spoke with Chris Veraldi after the Lynchburg Registrar certified those results.
Even though Veraldi says he won, as she explains, he still has concerns about election integrity heading into November.
1 week after the primary election, one of the candidates for the Republican nomination for the Ward 4 Lynchburg City Council seat is declaring victory. With just 33 more votes than his opponent, Chris Veraldi says he will represent the Republican Party come November.
We've had a long process to get to this point, and it's been intense at times, but at the end of the day, the voters have spoken.
A lot of that tension fueled by a procedural error at the ballot box inside the Lynchburg Registrar. It was left unlocked for 3 days after the election, and officials found 7 ballots inside. We spoke with you over the weekend about the ballot box issues that happened in Lynchburg. Do you still have concerns about this now that it's been certified? Are you doing anything moving forward about this?
We still do have concerns. The question is, was the outcome going to be changed? And from what we can see, based off that data, the answer is no. However, we do need to ensure that our elections are following the letter of the law.
But Veraldi's opponent, Peter Alexander, is not backing down.
No, it's definitely not the end of it. The people have to be held accountable. This is, the attorneys will pick it up from here.
We spoke with your opponent, Peter Alexander, yesterday, and he said he is speaking with attorneys and could be pursuing legal action. What's your response to that?
We're on to November.
Does that bring up any concerns for the November election that this happened in Lynchburg? Do you have any concerns that it could happen again?
Do we have concerns? We do. But my faith is with the man upstairs, and I'm going to be okay.
Now, Veraldi says his team is communicating with the State Board of Elections and other authorities to make sure the registrar is following state law in future elections. The State Board of Elections still has to certify the official results. Back to you.